There's a lot more to incense than just loose incense or sticks and cones. One ancient form of incense burning that's enjoying a modern resurgence in popularity is the incense trail. We'll take a look at creating unique shapes with trails, using trails for burning loose incense and resins, using them to test new incense blends, and even a look at a hidden trail. All of that's coming up in this episode of Incense Magick. Natural incense is divided into two basic categories: self-combusting forms like sticks and cones, and forms that require an external heat source, which is traditionally charcoal. Although incense powders are often burned on charcoal, properly formulated powders burn very well without that external heat source. Using these self-combusting incense powders rather than a stick or cone has a lot of advantages. One key advantage is that you can create any two-dimensional shape that you wish. Powders allow you to draw pictures or even write words with your incense. But before we get into complex incense trails, let's talk about the basics. You only need a few items to make an incense trail, but one of them is critical, and that's ash. Asian incense traditions have long included the use of ash, and it's slowly growing in popularity in the West as well. Ash is a perfect medium for incense burning, and I encourage people to use it as a fill material in all of their censers. The making, using, and maintaining of ash for incense is definitely the topic for a different video, but do know that you can use the sifted ash from your current incense censers, and you can purchase ash specifically made for incense burning. It's usually called white ash, and it can be found at any shop or online store that sells Japanese incense charcoal, brands like Shoedo, Baedo, and others. The ash traps oxygen, which allows the incense to be fed air from below as well as from above. It also holds its shape, so you're able to create shapes or channels in the surface of the ash. Your ash should be sifted before you begin. It's a good idea to sift the ash before each use, but you should definitely do it before making any large or complex trails, the same if it has been used quite a few times. Once the ash is sifted, place it in your censer and gently tamp the ash down. Initially, you can do this just by tapping the censer on a rigid surface. That helps to expel air pockets that are in the ash, and it gives the ash a little more rigidity. You can then tamp down and level the ash and create a smooth surface for your work. It's also worth taking a moment to talk about censers. For incense trails, you need to have enough space to be able to draw or write on the surface, but you can still make wonderful trails in a small censer. A Koro-style censer, like this one, is perfect for most needs, but it's also pricey. I've got nearly the same performance from a simple coffee cup like this one. It only cost $1. And it's got a handle. For more elaborate trails, you need a larger censer. For many years, I've used a large ceramic bowl. It's good for almost any need, but it does require a lot of ash to fill it. An alternative, especially when you're first starting down the incense trail, is to use a flat container with only a thin layer of ash, say a half an inch to an inch. Your container will get hotter, and this isn't as flexible an approach, but it will work well until you've built up a deeper layer of ash. I paid $1 for this cookie sheet, and I've often used it to test new incense blends or to play with new trail design. Now, one of the most basic uses for an incense trail is to use the powdered incense in place of charcoal. In Japanese, this technique is called sunaiko, and it's an interesting twist on burning loose incense. Rather than using a charcoal tablet, an impression's made into the ash, and then that's filled with wood powder. It's tamped down and leveled. Usually a U-shaped impression is made using what's called a co-press, but you can make any shape you like. I often just make a single wide line. The impression is filled with any wood powder or even any other self-combusting incense powder. The easiest way I've found to fill impressions, whether simple ones like from a co-press or much more complex shapes, is to use an index card or another type of stiff paper, fold it in the middle, and then add the powder like a reservoir, and then you can hold the card just above the surface of the trail. You gently tap the side and it releases small amounts of powder. Once the channel is filled, tamp it down lightly, even if just with your finger. The line of powder is lit at one end, usually with a bit of joss stick that's inserted into it, and the powder will burn all the way down the line to the other end. You can then add fragrant materials on top of the powder. As the powder burns, it heats the materials and acts just like a charcoal tablet. This offers a unique incense experience because you can place different materials at different places along the line of powder. You might have frankincense at the start of the line, and then further down some dragon's blood, and maybe at the end some sage. It's a way to pre-program a variety of different scents. In ancient times, this technique was even used as a type of crude alarm clock. When the scent changed, you knew it was time for prayers or time for changing of the guards, whatever was important. This is also an excellent technique if you're developing your own self-combusting incense recipes. And when you roll sticks or cones, you have to wait days, sometimes even weeks, for them to be dry so that you can burn them and test their scent and see what their burning properties are like. Trails offer an alternative that will give you instant results. Blend your incense just as you would for rolling sticks and cones. You should also include the binder. Then use the powder to fill a channel of a trail. Once it's tamped down, the powder will not only allow you to experience the scent of your new blend instantly, but it'll also give you some good indication of its burning properties. If you've made the trail the same size as the sticks or cones you plan to make and the powder has to be relit several times, you might want to consider revising your recipe to include more base material. Once the powder is all burned, you can simply stir it together with the ash. Anytime you create a trail, it's important to burn it completely before you stir it into the ash. It's essentially impossible to remove unburned powder, and if it gets mixed in with the ash, it'll interfere with future uses. If you stir in enough unburned powder, it can even make your ash flammable. More importantly, it'll add unwanted and unplanned scent with any other incense burned on that ash. From the simple straight line, we move to something a bit more elegant and flexible. You can use a whole variety of presses in your ash to create channels many different shapes. Even some very complex ones can be made. You can see that this press makes a very complicated trail, and of course, since it's made of wood, you can use it over and over. You can even use cookie cutters to create trails. Just insert the cookie cutter into the ash not too far down, wiggle it around a little bit to create a wider channel, and then remove it. You can fill that channel just as you would with a channel made with any other kind of press. You can also create shapes freehand. Using this technique, you can literally draw with incense. You begin by creating a design in the ash. You can use a toothpick, a stick, a pencil, or any other rigid object, although I've found that round objects tend to work best. Don't make the channels too deep and don't lift your writing implement once you start. All of the pieces need to be connected like a chain of dominoes for the trail to burn completely. Anywhere from 1/8 of an inch up to 1/4 of an inch is a good depth. You can then fill and tamp down the channels just as we did before. If you want to get a little fancier, you can use several different powdered incense within your drawing so that the scent will change as the incense burns through different points in the trail. And this is really cool to watch as it burns. It's almost as if there's an invisible hand writing in the ash. There's an awesome trick to make this effect even more fun. I call this a hidden incense trail. You begin by making any form of trail, although I think that freehand writing is the best. Of course, that's probably because I can't draw to save my life. With the trail finished and tamped down, sprinkle a thin layer of fresh ash over the top of the entire censer. The layer needs to be thin, and it's also a good idea to insert a small bit of incense stick into the lighting point for the trail so you can find it later after you've buried it in ash. And once the ash is sprinkled on, the trail literally vanishes. The surprise is that the incense burns just fine under the ash. When you light the trail, it truly does appear to materialize from thin air as it burns through that top layer of ash. It's a neat effect, and it can make a unique, personalized gift for someone, but be aware that unburned trails do not travel well. You should create the trail wherever it's going to be burned. Trails are an ephemeral form of art, but they're also a form of performance art. Imagine a drawing in ash that changes scents as different objects are drawn. That's all we've got time for right now. Get out there and give incense trails a try. They're fun and versatile. They help to connect us back to the ancient roots of incense burning. Maybe you can make a hidden trail the centerpiece of your next gathering. Thank you for watching Incense Magic. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, brightest blessings.